Your phone, email, we can start collecting or formulating a database for to do that, and maybe also reaching people by phone. You could probably, like the doctor, sometimes when you have an appointment, they have a pre-recorded message that goes out. I don't know the mechanics of how that, but something we can look into the different ways of reaching the audience.
Is there a Jamaican radio station in Delaware?
There is a Caribbean television network that broadcasts these types of things. So you just have to get on the site. That's how a lot of people found out that this meeting was even being held here.
Respectfully, ma'am, those things, not, as I said, you have to go which part the people them there. No matter what medium you use, you have to go. You have to, Mr. Lamont, have to.
There's more than one.
No, I agree with you, Mr.
More than one way. Your way, what you're talking about.
Yeah, I agree with you, sir, but this is what I'm saying to you. The majority of the people are, you might have to, Mr. Desi, we come at the restaurant, him know, say, you know what, them youth play ball down this way, Mr. Desi, you go come a ball field, Mr. Desmond, everybody here I know Mr. Desmond. But those are what you have to, those are the things that you have to do. You have to go where the people are. As I said before, I don't expect you to come to the club 1 o'clock in the morning. But you must have an idea where them play ball on Sunday. Yeah. You know when I go up at the ball field, go sit down and talk to them, Or when say them play ball there, so, or them sit down and play domino there, so, or them there on a junior. Walk up at junior, go which part them play domino. You know if you hang out there, whether you're a Christian or not. But as I said, you don't go to church, go preach to the people them in the church and not go gain nobody. You have to go out, go get people who are sinner to come to church. So you cannot do it. You can't do it that way there. I agree, you say social media and everything,
That's one way.
Yeah, that's one way. And TV and radio station, that's another way. Yesterday I had a guy playing on the UD radio station and I had them broadcast this thing for me. You understand? So those are some of the things. So you have to be a part of the community if you even be the community. You can't be the community and not a part of it. You cannot ostracize certain section of it and feel like, boy, you know what, them people they are outcasts. Because there's diamond in the rough, you might not look upon them and say, boy, me not deal with them people there, because I can't manage them. But when you go and sit down and talk to them, those are the type of people really can motivate and help you launch where you are trying to launch. You can't sit down and say, boy, me not go around with them people there, You don't have to. But if you know me and you say, Greg, you know what, me I go want some of them people here come. You frightened if you know, say, a lot of these people are young men where you see, them have a lot for offer, them have a lot for offer, and them have a lot for contribute. They might not be able to eloquently state their point. But if you go and you say, you know what, we need $1,000 to do a thing at Jamaica, them come out of them pocket and give $120 to it. So everything counts. And those are the things what we're trying to do as a community.
I nominate Greg to be the PR person for this organization.
Can I give my example?
Gentlemen,
Good evening, everybody. My name is Wesley Smith. I sent a message to the panel and I asked, did you know what the name FOTA stands for?
The name, sorry?
F-O-T-A.
F-O-T-A?
Okay, I'll tell you. It really answers all the questions I heard. But first, let me apologize for being late. And the question I had first was, who are these guys and why are they here? What brought them to Delaware versus New Jersey, Maryland, and any place? I heard you mention that you were in Connecticut. I have been in Connecticut from the New York group, FOTA, Friends of Trelawney, Patrick Bedford, and okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm part of that crazy crew.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Derek Scott.
Derek Scott, I am the one that got Derek back on the board. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the bylaws for FOTA, Friends of Trelawney. The problem that we have here in Delaware the WWIA is dead. Let's not even reissue that name. It is dead. Now, what we do need is to have a rebirth of a simile of the WWIA. Understanding the needs of the diaspora and our family and friends back home, we really need to put an umbrella together. And FOTA in New York, in Florida, in California, in Canada, in Toronto, and there are a few sister organizations from the main organization in New York that is in existence. Today, I spoke with Colin that we have a plan to meet later to try to hash out the problems in getting the building back on track. This is my words. We have not yet discussed, so I don't know what his thought processes are. I've spoken to some of the investors who basically have control of the building, and they have given me the okay to negotiate with whosoever is involved. They've also given me a letter from the principal investor to Colin and to his attorney that I've been holding for a year and a half, that I cannot get my good friend and I to get together, but like anything else, sometimes it takes time. On top of all that announcement, today I received my business license to start a new organization here in Delaware, and also I've started a 501c3 with the following sub-chapters that would allow us to do the previous things that were done by the WWIA, plus all of the other social needs that we need to address for diasporas in America and those that are back home. So a lot of things are being done under the quiet because I did not have an umbrella to work with or a team that would work with me because I'm a big mouth and I don't like nonsense. So I wasn't one of those Jamaicans who were welcome in the Jamaica diaspora here in Delaware, because I do not suffer fools. So therefore, a lot of things went by the wayside. I guess you're standing, oh, okay. But I welcome you here, and I'm still a little bit lost. I know you said you raised your kids or went to school here in Delaware, so you do have some roots. So I guess, like speaking with Greg, I guess I'll try to gain your affinity so that I can also tap into all the strength that you will bring to Delaware. I have the bylaws, and I realize that you do speak Jamaica, and I may speak Trelawney, but I guess we can widen that umbrella to encompass and have everyone involved in rebuilding this new organization that you do propose. But it's not something that I'm starting over. The federal government already gave us our 501c3. I'm just bringing a sub-chapter here in Delaware. I know I may have shared a little bit with Denzel, and I've never expressed it with Mr. Baker or anybody else. I know Claude is here with his team also. I think it's called People Helping People. So we do have people who want to help, who want to do things, but sometimes you need a vehicle through which you go. And I realize I'm fortunate enough to have the resources, so I'm willing to work with anybody in doing so. But it's about time we get away from our own little cocoon and then work as a team, because we're naked. And as Greg said, we had a funeral and really had no place to go. We did it in a tent. So we really have to really shape up and get to work in putting this organization together, because we have the building, I know that the owner will allow me to at least get the organization back after I talk with Colin and see what he says. Even if he says no, I will tell him no, and I'll tell him then his days are over. So let's move on. It's that serious.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Colin Fisher. I am the president of the Caribbean Cultural Organization, CCOD, for Delaware. Currently, we are not active with this organization based on our 501c3 is no longer active. It is not as simple as it proposed to be in this situation, and I don't really want to take the time of this meeting to really discuss our,
Private business.
yeah. It is not private. It's not private.
It's not.
But I would just like to shed a little light on the situation. The Caribbean community in Delaware, I've been a part of it for maybe 20 years, and it go up and down, and I'm one person that try to hang in there to the best of my ability to make sure that our purpose here is understood for being Caribbean people here in Delaware, to try to organize and achieve something. It's been very difficult, I must say, from various walks of life. The building situation is not my building. It is the Caribbean building in Delaware that belongs to every Caribbean person is a part owner of that building. The greatest problem is that the people don't seem to know that. When they ask me about the building, why don't you know about the building if it's your building? And that's right where I'm stuck, because it's been put in the community for maybe 30, 40 years. That building was bought for the community, and I saw where the need was to help maintain it. That's all I did all the years, is work, maintain, and make sure it's there for the purpose. But the problem I face is that the very people, to me, don't seem to really want the building. And I make sure I hold it, because just to get a quick review of, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago, the building was actually turned over to the city to be auctioned off and sheriff's sale. A couple members of the Wilmington West Indian Association, that's the older organization, tried to save the building. And when I found that out, the building had to stay as a non-profit. And so, being a president for the Caribbean Cultural Organization, I stepped up and said, instead of the building go back to the city, let us try to reclaim it under the Caribbean Cultural Organization. And so we jump around and we ask members, there's a couple of people to help contribute, and we put together and pay off the bill that was outstanding for this losing the building. And so it was registered now to the Caribbean Cultural Organization, and with the intent that the building stays as a community center. That's what it is now. It's not a social club anymore or a private club. It's a community center for the Caribbean Cultural Organization. That's what it is actually registers as. And so there is a lot of difficulty in trying to keep it, because it has to be maintained. And so I take the initiative, and I pay the bills monthly for about 15 years. I've been, trying to hold it. Right now it is still halfway there, because, you know, there's some issues with vandalism and so forth and so forth. There we have debt that we owe for people that we borrowed money to get it together. And so all these things, once everybody is serious and I mean, I'm tired. I reached to the end of my rope. And I'm telling you right now, my job is to maintain. If you all willing to come together and put it back on top, I'm always gonna be there like I've always been. All I do is holding it, because I would hate to see the community as us lose a building that was sacrificially bought for the community. Goes, you know, just like that. And that's the purpose of, and anybody who's serious about this building, we can set up a meeting and call it day, and we can, you know, talk seriously. What are the issues? What are the problems? And it's not as simple as it seems. Trust me on that one. We have to make sure that we are ready to take on responsibility. And, you know, that's what it boils down to. It's nothing personal. It has to be a community effort. If the community want to keep the community building, that's what it's gonna be, and that's what we need to do to not just talk, but we have to make effort to get it done. I'm sorry to butt in on your meeting, and you know that wasn't really part of it, but you know, anybody who's interested, give me a number, a name, we set a time, and we can sit down, and we have a little bit of time to get this building, or else it's gonna go back to sheriff's sale.
So Greg.
Excuse me, I would like to know, what was the reason that, because you said the building was bought initially for the Caribbean, for you, right? For the purpose of Caribbeans having, you know, I don't know it, and you know, so I'm trying to learn from what you just said. I also want to know if the building was bought for you, what the reason it was going to sheriff's sale, was it for property taxes or something?
Yes.
Okay, well, you know, is it in that status right now?
We have water bill is one thing, and we have a couple loans from individuals in the community, and which I understand, you know, there are liens against the loan. So if we can get that cleared up with the individuals, then, and it's not a lot.
Because so there's no mortgage balance on it that's causing a problem, or anything, or any loans that was taken out against it?
The city gave it to them.
All right, exactly, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
So my question now is, if the building is a community building, and all you have to do, why then is only some members pay fee? Why then it reaches a point where John have $5,000 in it? Why then Mary can hold it and say, me nah, let it go because until me get my money? If that's a community building, then you go to the community, you have drive, you have fundraiser, raise whatever money needs to maintain the building. Mr. Cotton, shouldn't they tell we say, people who money upon the building are people have money upon the building, and not in a same sense you say a community building. It's not community building. People are used or put their money in a basically to get a profit money. How you gonna tell me about investors? Investors in a public building, investors in a community center. At Jamaica, when they make community center, everybody either government donate it and you take time and maintain it. Even then, you suppose you get foolishness, man. Me not like that. You can't have a community building and not tell me about investors. How we reach a point that people them invest?
Because I think they were going to lose the building, so people had to come out of their pocket.
Ma'am, what I'm saying, the moment them realize, the moment them realize that the building people start owe money, then that means they don't need to kick out every who in the way in our office. Because the moment it reaches a point now which part water not pay, light not pay, tax not pay, you shouldn't reach a point which part don't have to go get people, kick out them there and put new people in there. But them no want no bridge across, so that's why we reach that stage.
Well, Greg, why don't you step up to the plate?
No, we are. That's why I say any how much they owe now. If a 6,000 I have people who are willing now to pay. If at 10,000, we have people who are willing now to pay.
Colin.
Well, as Jamaicans and through the diaspora, I think maybe everybody who, let's maybe just meet for, agree for disagree with whatever, whoever has, you know, and sit down and talk the thing out. My goddaughter, that's I like the word the thing, but talk it out and come to something, because it sounds like, you know, it would be, listen, I'm big on people not losing property.
If it's a community building, then this is a community group right now. Or maybe the community needs to talk about it.
Yeah, peacefully.
And go into
Peacefully,
the
peacefully go and come together and work on a solution, right?
I believe this gentleman wanted to speak then.
I am going to be thrown in the air because I'm not going to talk about the building. I understand Greg's concern earlier on where he said, tell me what we should do so we can do it, raise money. And I think the Diaspora that is blessed that in June we have a conference coming up. Let me give you a live example of
Are you
experience.
coming? Are you coming to the conference?
Well, you have me thinking. Let me get to that. But no, let me share.
Greg, you coming?
Sorry.
Are you coming, Greg?
Greg would be awesome
If
there.
we can get some people to raise the money.
No, but let me share a real Trinidad example with the group, because we have all come from the old British colonial day. Our teaching system, as we all know, like Jamaica or Trinidad, we all did GC, and then after we got rid of that, we went CXC, and we know how challenging it is for the kids. I was there. You know, we all there. And you're right that we cannot select just a few and give to them, and there's a lot of gold somewhere in the dust, right? We want the biggest bang for the dollar. One of the things I did, I visited a number of high schools in Trinidad, and I'm sure you'd have visited Jamaica. And a simple thing like a calculator, a basic calculator, they did not have that in the high schools. They had a few that will go around. And what we did, bought a number of calculators and gave it to the high schools. So here's a start. If you can write Timex or whoever it is who makes calculator, right? And you can get so many hundreds of calculators. If you can speak to the schools before you go, and at your conference, you give to the schools so many hundreds of calculators for kids who are preparing for CXC. You tell the Delaware group, we want 1,000 calculators. They know what they have to focus on. You go down there, you have 10,000 calculators. Guess how good the organization looks? You know what I mean? I've seen it. We all come from the same background. There's no mistake about it, right? And that's my thought on that. So whether I be Jamaica, you can invite me from Montego Bay.
I just want to tell everybody, we have an awesome pasta chicken salad over there, and cakes and desserts. So please feel free to get up if you're a little hungry and get something if you want. Just don't sit here hungry and and then time run out. On us. Yes.
My name is Ricardo Brown, by the way. I resigned in Delaware about 8 years from New York. And since I've been here, Greg, as we call him memory, I always try to organize and get together with the people. And we always said this, it's only funerals we meet and greet. And I'm tired of it. So right now, I'm stopped going to funeral as of today, if it's so we could meet and greet. Because if there is 3,500 Jamaicans live in Delaware, I don't see how we does not have a club or an association that could help out in all kinds of ways. For me, I doesn't tell people what I'm about to do for somebody. I fly under the radar. And I resigned to United States 11 years and a few months. And I have a fellow friend who have about 6 CXCs, and she got run over by a car. And she cannot walk anymore. She lost a few teeth, and I tell myself when I went back in '05, I will never go back unless I could get her a wheelchair so she could mobilize herself. This past year, I went back and I bought her that wheelchair. I didn't like the system in Jamaica, which I ship my stuff. I know that they can make a couple dollars, but before I went, I was talking to my primary care physician, Dr. Agar, Raymond Agar, and he told me that he goes all over the world. He's a Trinidadian. And luckily, I already shipped the chair, and I didn't get to talk to him before I shipped it. And when I went to Jamaica to receive the chair, it was a chaos to get the chair for the girl who needs it. And I have to pay the amount of money to get the chair, and it's not seller I'm selling the chair. It's because of a loving heart and a kind heart I was doing this. And eventually I paid them at the wharf and transport it and invite the girl to my grandfather's house, which is in Linstead, D-side, St. Catherine. And I hand over the chair to the young miss. And trust me, it was like a dream really come true. You know? And I'm saying that to say this. There is more than, if a person cannot read and write, I believe in that. God gave you a skill and a talent, and you could use it. So right now, I'm planning on packing a couple bars of tools and ship it over there in my area where I'm from, and try to get the youths to engage with some technology tools, which you ain't got to run a handsaw. You could just plug it in and cut what you need. I need help, but I try to get help where I don't need no money to help. I could finance my stuff. I need the help where when I shipped it over there, I could receive it, but doesn't have to pay $1 million to get it off the wall. So if I could get some good information to do that, I'll do that. And Greg is a man who, if Greg want to do something, Greg will do it. You hear me? So whatever things that we need to help out in the community, whether here or UK or Canada, wherever in the world, we need some help. I think that we should all help. And those are my few words. Thank you.
Just to respond to that, there is a Charities Act in Jamaica that basically assists people who want to bring things into the country, and that's not for profit. So in this case where he's bringing a wheelchair for someone, you basically, there's a specific way to do this. So I'm going to talk with you about this afterwards, because you don't have to pay the $1 million as you said. It's a lot easier now to bring things in. But the government has to be aware that this is not something you're planning on sending down to sell. So if it's not for profit and it's something you're donating, that has to be designated ahead of time. That's how you get it in. Okay, so we'll talk after the meeting. It's not that complicated anymore. You have to do it the right way. Let them know ahead of time that this was not something you were sending down to set up, you know, a business. Because people ship things because they have a business in Jamaica. And that's a whole different situation. They're subject to whatever taxes are involved. But in your case, where you really just want to help, you need to go through it a different way. Okay? And I think we really have accomplished so much here today. But I think Greg needs to talk to Colin, who needs to talk to, what's that gentleman's name? Leslie. So the three of you need to come together, and between FOTA, which is the Friends of Trelawney, and whatever organization you guys are gonna come up with in Delaware, something that will really not only be just about Trelawney, because not everyone is from there, but it will really help the Delawareans, the Jamaicans that live in Delaware, to really just deal with our issues. And that's the purpose of the diaspora. We have things that are only specific to Jamaica. Things relating to that, what this gentleman just talked about, getting things shipped to the wharf. I mean, we have immigration, that's a whole nother day of discussion. But there are so many issues relating to public safety. People are afraid to go back to Jamaica, to live, to returning residents. They don't want to go back because they're afraid they're going to be killed when they arrive. You know, and there's so many things. So that's what the organizations in the different diaspora group need to come in and talk about. And you can have us available to come and, you know, speak at your group. Because my role as the advisory board member is to talk with the minister, Minister Arnaldo Brown, and he's really very willing to hear and to come up with solution. But we have to talk about the solution together. And we have to talk about the problems together and find a solution together as to how we're going to be able to fix the problem. It is so important. I really am asking everyone to fill out one of those forms. Did everyone have a copy of the mapping survey? If you could really complete that for me, I would really appreciate it. And put your name down on the list that's going around.
There are only six copies, so.
We have limited amount of copies of the mapping, but it can be done. Yeah, if you want. I don't know if any, you know, I wish I'd known you guys know of where some to find you. My problem is finding people because maybe I live in Middletown. But Minister Brown in August came here with the Consulate General of New York, Herman Lamont. You know, so he came here and we tried to have a town hall meeting. It wasn't as big as it was, you know, but we're keeping on trying. And here's Denzel. Yeah. Here's some photograph of the minister's visit. You know, so you know we're trying to get attention. You know, to listen to what you know. It's not just us here sitting. We're literally trying to get things done. There's a park, One Love, in Wilmington that Jamaica is looking at doing something like that in Trenchtown, so that Delaware and Jamaica would have two parks, one Love. It's like a twin of a city. So they're working on things, you know, like that. So, but I really think there's like maybe about 4 people over here who need to come together because I really think we can solve your problem. It sounds like it's just something that just needs to hammer out, and so we can do that. You know, because we're, you know, when Jamaicans put their head together, we can do awesome things. So, you know, so I think we'll work on that and see what we can do. You know, and don't lose that building. You know, you know, the reason I asked if there was a mortgage balance, not realizing I was listening enough. Was because on Monday, next Monday and Tuesday, the Justice Department has a forum. One is at the Chase Riverfront, where if you are in danger of losing anything, that you can stop it. But since this is not mortgage related, I don't know if there's someone there for the situation you're going in, which may be taxes, you know, or sewage taxes. You know, so we'll see, you know, so look for that information also. I'd be happy to give you if you need it.
With the amount of genuine love that exists among us as Jamaicans here in this community, I've discovered for myself, it's almost like trying to herd cats in terms of organizing anything substantial here among the Jamaican community. So what you hear here is not unusual. However, and whether or not we do come to some common understanding is yet to be seen. We'll see. However, I have a question regarding the Jamaica Diaspora Association itself, and whether or not it has a position on the inclusion of Jamaicans abroad in the electoral process in Jamaica. Does the diaspora have a position on that, a stated position that they can express to us and we can assimilate sensibly?
Sure. So your question is whether or not we can go back home and vote?
Not necessarily go back home. I mean, there are countries where you don't have to go back home.
You're not allowed to. The issue is, and this was brought up with one of the trips I did with the minister, you have to actually, in order to be able to vote, you have to be registered. That's the first thing. And in order to be registered, you have to show that you've resided or you're residing in a certain part of Jamaica for a period of time. I believe it's about 6 months to a year. So, go ahead.
Yes, I understand that, but outside of that, I'm wondering if there's a position that the association has as to the correctness or incorrectness of that particular position, whether it's changed.
I don't agree with
Lobbied
it.
for.
I don't agree with it. I think
Well, I'm not
as
asking about you
Jamaicans,
personally, I'm asking about the Diaspora Association.
the position, the issue is, this is one of the things that we need to lobby on. This is one of the things that I think we need to really discuss to try to change, because right now, Jamaicans living abroad in the diaspora are not able to vote in their elections unless they can. I don't know if people are aware of that. So that's why I'm trying to clarify that point.
I don't think clarification is necessary, but I understand that. My question was whether or not the Diaspora Association itself has a position on that matter that it can circulate as its position. I know you have a position on it, sure, and maybe each of us have an opinion on it. But does the Diaspora Association have a position on that matter?
Well, I would say that, you know, the position is that.
On the discussion.
Right, it is, because it's being addressed all the time, but there's no resolution for the problem. So the position is that we feel that this is something that needs to change. The fact that we're not able to vote from the US or UK or Canada. So that's basically the position, that we're not happy with it. Just like the fact that we can't go back and serve as a member of parliament if you've given up, you know, you haven't actually given up your Jamaican citizenship. If you become a US citizen or a British subject or a Canadian citizen, you can have dual citizenship. But the fact is that, you know, you can't go down and sit in parliament or become a minister or a member of parliament if you're living in the United States. Because you'd have to give up your Jamaican citizenship. I'm sorry, your US citizenship in order to do that.
Correct, and perhaps it's something that the association as a whole could consider as an important point. Others may see it as reasonable that it remains the way it is, but I don't. Thank you.
Mrs. Spinner, one quick question regarding the immigration issue. I know it's one of your specialties, you're passionate about immigration.
Yes.
So deportees back home, you said they're going to be invited, or you're going to reach out.
Yes.
The organization will reach out to them and invite them to see how to best facilitate and assist their resettlement, such as is being done by deportees from the UK.
Right.
So what does the Jamaican government has in place? I mean, of course, 10 years ago things were different. I'm quite sure now in the 21st century, you know, things are moving, you know, in a different direction, because once upon a time people used to go back and kind of, if you don't have family, you don't have anybody, you kind of leave up to yourself, and, you know, crime and all them kind of concerns. Now, what is the government, what is the Jamaican government putting in place to facilitate these people? I know they have put pressure on the US government to step up, because in fact, in truth, a lot of people live here, including some of my family members and close friends. They have grown up in the US. They know more about America than, you know, the island, so to speak. And so they go out there and they're lost. They are lost. You know? So how far are we with this initiative, and in terms of putting pressure on the US to step it up in assisting with resources for resettlement, you know what I mean, jobs and facilitating things, so people are not just left to their own devices when they know no one after growing up in the US.
Right. There are a few organizations that are currently in place. There's one actually that I know in New York called FURI, that's F-U-R-I. And what they've done is they've created this organization to help deportees resettle back into Jamaica. So basically what you do is, when you find out that a member of your family is gonna be removed from the US, you would contact them and you make the arrangements, and so they would be there in Jamaica on the ground to receive them a lot of times, and just to kind of help them get themselves straightened out. The government is actually in the process of working that out as well, to assist people who come back to the US after deportation. Because if you don't have a place to go, then they'll find you somewhere so you're not on the street. But it's not well, organized as it should be. But I think they are depending on, in our case, the US, to assist. So these organizations have sprung up, because they really need, you're right. If you're 2 years old when you come into the United States and you get deported at 35, you have no clue about anything relating to Jamaica. So it's a culture shock for you to get sent back there. So there are these organizations that are in place, definitely, that are designed to help Jamaicans who are returning to just resettle back into society, helping them find jobs if they're young enough to go back to school, helping them find food if they have nothing to eat, and families who are down there to assist them. Some people have taken people in just to help them, deal with the whole culture shock of being removed from the US.
Madam Chair, may
Yes.
I return to the subject of
If you need a pen, we have extras.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the building, for the little that I think I know, the bills are utility related. I do not know if there are any tax consequences currently. Greg brought up a point that we need to really understand. Who are the investors and why they became investors? They, according to what I was told, put up the money to prevent losing the building. Today, at the funeral, there was a sidebar which was brought to my attention that there is a need to collect their monies, and some of the investors are now calling that they want their money. One of the principal investors has an offer to sell or for someone to buy the property right away. And I've been standing in front saying, no, you can't do it. Because I was the one who went to the Attorney General and asked for support, in which the Attorney General claimed that under the doctrine of monition, if money goes back to the king, and if that's the king's money, neither the investors or anyone can collect on the money, so it's best to leave it as is. However, a lien was placed on the property, and an attorney was informed that he's authorized to sell the building at any time. I have been pleading and pleading. Well, thank God, Colin and I spoke today and we agreed we're going to meet. But we have another problem. His 501c3 is currently in limbo, and the one that I am proposing is not yet approved. However, I have a catch-22. I can use FOTA in New York to cover any shortfall that we have here in Delaware. But we need to have our own establishment here in Delaware, not just the building, but the 501c3 charter. We have some original problems that we cannot go back to. When the organization was set up more so that the members can go there and really fellowship, which allows alcohol. No crime in alcohol because they were allowed by law. But if you're a 501c3, you are not allowed to have alcohol on the premises. So that was the major problem. You show me a Jamaican who does not want to have a drink and they won't come to any meeting. So here comes another situation. Rules. Are we going to abide by the rules of the federal government? Because you're not in Jamaica, you are in America, and it's American laws that you have to abide by. Now, as an American citizen, I am not going to put my life at risk for anybody. When I say life at risk, not in terms of danger, but in terms of legal compliance. So therefore, we honestly need to understand what we're getting into. We have rules that we're going to have to abide by. And if we can't abide by the rules, we're just going to look like the same teams that were there before. So we need to spell it out real early that this is not a joke, this is serious business. And that is the reason why I am taking a very stern position on the issue, because I understand what is required to be eligible to gain the government's blessing, to gain all that public money that we can do good back home, but we have to abide by rules. So not only have I gone and started to put the documentation to put the organization together, but I have gone and joined an umbrella organization out of Maryland that teaches public organizations here in Delaware exactly how to be compliant. And so all the preliminary work has been done by me. I may not have shared it with anyone else because I was doing it quietly so that I do not run into the same roadblocks that existed before, because we went from WWIA to CCOD, and then I found a very unique way how I had CCOD renting from WWIA and paying their obligations because the members were not contributing to the upkeep of the building and be compliant. Well, let's throw Wesley out, and guess what? We will live happy ever after. The building is now empty. People stole out the pipes, their water bills, that is up the gazulu, and we don't know how to manage an asset when we do have one. So I lean on you guys to really be the force to keep the organization together. That's all I have to say at this point.
But I think you need to form the organization first before, because it doesn't sound like there's one cohesive group that exists in Delaware. So that's the first thing. So can we set a date? When's gonna be the meeting? Let's just do this. It's not gonna be a year from now, Colin. It has to be within the next few weeks. When is everyone available? Can we just set a date so we can have you come together and meet and try to sort this out? Because this is a problem. And what happens when people give you money, they can file a lawsuit and end up getting a lien against the property, which is, I think, what Gregory was saying. But it's sort of like, what is a catch-22? Because if you're gonna lose your building, then you're gonna take money from anyone who's gonna give it to you to prevent you from having a sheriff's sale.
The problem they run into, it's unrespectful, Mr. Smith. We don't, unless we have the community involved, then we are going to run in this problem 10 years down the road. Because if Mr. Smith's organization does the same thing that the other two previous organizations did, then whenever time it runs into it, unless, I just give you an example, today we did a funeral, and them say them what?
Now the guy that died owns a liquor store, so we weren't short of anything. And what we did, we collected, Mr. Desi, how much you give me? 20? I collected $1,200 just collected from people till them we are going to the liquor store to buy liquor for the funeral. Simple. So I'm saying anything is possible once you get people involved. And unless we get the lowest man on the corner, we feel like he's a part of the organization, we will run into this problem 10 years down the road. So unless we can get everybody to feel like, you know what, my $10 count. So therefore, when you're running at the problem again, and you see the same little man on the corner, you tell him, say, General, you know, say, we need a little $10 with PS on the line. That man is going to give it because he has an invested interest in the building. If he's a stakeholder. So until you can make sure say everybody will be able to put $10, feel like say then $10 count, then we are going to run into the same problem down the road. Unless we do it as a community.
Thank you. I totally agree. Totally agree. And if funds are collected through maybe a fundraiser, then you don't have to owe anybody. You know, that's the thing. So you raise funds. Okay, you do a party, you do a dance, you do something, and the monies go towards paying off the debt, so that people are not putting in their own private money.
When you have a surplus, then you know, okay, if we run
That's
into a problem, then we take care of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's the solution. Y'all need Greg to be part of this. You do.
You will be.
You gotta get this done, man, because you can't lose the building again.
Okay, thank you all for coming. First of all, I just want to say to Wesley and to Greg and to Colin, you know, I want to say, Colin, I know Colin has put out a lot of effort in keeping that building, regardless of what the nuances are. He's put out, and it was him alone working. So we have to show appreciation for that. Now, I understand Wesley's cause, and Greg is a very passionate person. I know, I played soccer with Greg, so I know, and he approached me today and said, Brother Desi, we need to get to the corner with this kind of stuff. And I told him, I said, I went to all of the restaurants, and I gave out all, I sent it to anybody that I knew, but I didn't get one to Greg, and I apologize to him for that. So, the same thing with Ricardo. You know, we have some very passionate folks here. And I think, you know, like Greg said, you know, in his own parlance, he said, you can't leave anybody out of the picture. And I apologize for that because it wasn't intentional. I did my best, but, you know, like Greg said, not everybody does email. And that's what I was leading on. So, to that end, first I want to say thanks to Ms. Pino for coming. For Lorraine, I tell you this woman, she's worked tirelessly from the time I met her for all the stuff that she's done. She's very passionate about her Jamaican heritage. And to Erin Louis, another young lady, up and coming star I see. You know, I think this is the second time I've heard her speak, and I'm always impressed as to what she has to say and her love and affection for both country here and country there. And so to that end, I welcome you all. I appreciate you all coming. First of all, I want to say thanks to Mr. Duncan for being so generous in providing the food that is here. And then to Ms. Mitzi Hamilton for coming and helping out with all the chores that went on around here. Mr. Errol Jones. First, I want to point out Claude Gale. I'm going to tell you a story about Claude. I called Claude about a month ago to get some t-shirts for the Diaspora put together. And I went by to pick up the t-shirts yesterday. Actually, when I called Claude, he told me that it was finished. And I asked him how much I owe him. And he said, you don't owe me anything, man. I'm going to do this for the Diaspora. So we have people who are willing to help. And I had a very nice conversation with Claude, but that's the way Claude is. We hang out a lot, but I was just so surprised by that generosity.
Wow.
To Michael Badley, I want to say, Mike, for all your efforts today. I know you've been running around town, so. And then to Hedley and Darius for allowing us to use the facility. We had the funeral today, and I got 2 texts on my phone, and the text, both of them say, I was too tipsy to come today, so I'll catch it at the night. So I know a lot of people, because, the funeral started at 8 o'clock this morning, And I pulled up, and there were people in the streets drinking liquor at 8:30 in the morning. Everybody had a cup, there were people out there drinking. So I understand what was going on. But once again, I just want to say thanks for coming. The next time around, we're going to have a better, well-structured, and I'm going to make sure that we get all of the issues between Wesley and Colin resolved, because I'm going to intercede in that and see what's going on.
I'm just an agent, I'm not Colin's my friend.
Thank you very much. Okay.